So the Arboretum is a total of 66 acres, made up of 2 estates. The DeGollier estate that brought us 44 acres, and the Camp estate that brought us 22. Both homes are still standing. The DeGollier home is open and available for tours on the hour and half hour. They also have a wheelchair entrance, so that wouldn't preclude you from being able to take a tour of the house. The camp house is not open for tours, but it's available to rent if you want to throw a party. And then you get to park at the parking lot that's closest there.
Okay.
So think of a reason to rent it. That's the first of our 3 American trial gardens, and we're the only site in the state of Texas that participates in this nationwide program where plant companies send their plants to us to put out, test, and provide them feedback on whether they can make it in Texas or not. So there are signs in front of all those plants that would give you the name of the plant and who sent it to us. And you can tell from looking at the kinetic art, there's no breeze around here because they're all
those are all supposed to move,
still.
yeah.
They're supposed to move, but they need wind to do it.
I feel like I made plans for Sunday evening.
These sun patients are doing extremely well, which is an example of what can be achieved when plant companies start messing with plants, because they started life as New Guinea inpatients, which, as you know, have to be in the shade, and then somebody monkeyed around with them enough to develop them into plant flowers that can tolerate sun. And these are our ornamental peppers, which are adorable looking, and ornamental is code for non-edible.
Non-edible, but they still have the pepper on them?
Yeah, they have a pepper, but you're not supposed to pick it.
Oh, the red ones.
Yeah,
oh, yeah. I was
these,
looking at the purple. Okay, yeah.
Well, you know, the funny thing is when they first put them out, they were all purple. And then as they sit in the sun, they start to turn colors. It's really cool to have different colored things on the same plant. And that's a Yaupon holly tree, and most Yaupon hollies do not look like giant bonsai. But the gentleman who planted this in his own yard back in 1968 was the one who had the idea of pruning it like that. Later on, after he became a volunteer here, he donated his pride and joy to us. Took a crane to handle the transplant because the root ball was 8 feet across. So it's been here since 1990, which is no surprise it needs a little help holding up its branches. Don't we all? There's a lovely example of the state tree of Texas, our Texas pecan.
Oh my.
He's a beauty. I'm guessing he's pushing 100 years. That's called the pecan grove out there. There are other pecan trees, but they were all grafted to produce paper shell pecans. Gift shop, and I don't understand. That structure up ahead, which you can barely see, was the original entrance to the DeGollier estate back when the family lived here. The most interesting detail about it is it was Mrs. DeGollier that designed it and had it built while her husband was out of town. You can't see the side pieces because of all the stuff going on it and in front of it, but they're fashioned to look like ammonite fossils because ammonite fossils are frequently found on oil estates. Mr. DeGollier was a very prominent and successful geologist. Then his pedestal bases are supposed to look like oil wells. And that guy up ahead is my favorite tree here at the Arboretum. That is a male bodart that's over 200 years old. He's a huge one and still extremely healthy. Just look at all those green leaves. And even though some of his branches are laying on
Is it the smaller leaf or this one? Right here, okay, yeah.
This whole huge thing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And as we get past it, you'll get a glimpse of his trunk, and you're looking at the skinny side here. In the winter, he drops his leaves, and then you can see the trunk in all its glory, because it's really humongous. And as I said, he's quite healthy.
Hey, John, look at the leaf, and then when you're in the park, maybe you'll see a boat.
Yeah, I don't think we'll see that.
The males don't bear fruit, the females do. And the fruit are those, like horse apples, but they don't bear fruit either. Pretty much not.
Is that a cinder block for people to pose for pictures? Or?
I don't know what that sucker's doing there. The other name for the tree is Osage orange, and you can see that orange hue to the underside of the wood. Interestingly, back in times when home foundations were the pure and beam, not the concrete, contractors tried to get their hands on bodark wood because it is so dense it's virtually impervious to termites. So bodarks used to be very valuable, and then we came up with different materials, and now they're probably considered trash trees.
Really?
So this guy's really lucky to find himself on the grounds of the Arboretum. Hopefully he'll keep going for another couple of 100 years. But I like to tell people, think of the War of 1812. He was just a sapling.
Wow.
Kind of locks in how old he is.
So that's not like it'd be a southern tree to be like
well,
from
from
Louisiana?
what I can understand, it kind of grows up through the Midwest. And I don't know if the name Osage orange indicates there's any out on the West Coast where you have Osage. You know, I don't know. But yeah, I've not heard of them in the Northeast, and I don't know that they're in the deep South. They seem to be kind of a Western tree. Because they
That's
also
kind of a French name. They might be
Well,
Louisiana.
That's why I said. Yeah.
Oh, well, actually, it was the French trappers that named it Bodark, which is a corruption of Bois d'Ar. And it stands for wood of the bows because the trappers noticed that the Indians preferred the wood from these trees for making their bows. So that's where the name came from. But it was named by French trappers, not necessarily because they came from Louisiana. So
Okay.
I don't know. Those are cherry trees that briefly in March for about 2 weeks are filled with white cherry blossoms.
Wow.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. And then the rest of the year they're just pretty trees.
Now in Fort Worth, our botanical garden, our Japanese gardens, they have the beautiful China or maple.
Oh yeah, we have a bunch too.
You have some here
Yeah,
too? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I'll show you. This is toe corners where kids tend to get wet. So you'll see them running around in there, sometimes dodging the water, sometimes just standing to let it pour on them 100%.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Yeah. These are the other two trial gardens. Over here on the right, we're doing container trials. So if you like me and only have a patio or yard, it would be real important to know which plants do well in containers, because these are all labeled. Over here, these are labeled as well, but they're more traditional bedding plants with the exception of the hanging baskets. And look how gorgeous those hibiscus
Oh,
are.
my.
They're huge. They're like dinner plates.
I wish mine were like that.
There's some magic to the Arboretum. Of course, when the DeGolliers bought their 44 acres, it was a working dairy farm. That might have something to do with it. But that was a long time ago. By now, the product from the dairy farm would have been long gone. There's another good shot, including the hanging baskets. This is a stand of azaleas that only bloom in the spring. They are spectacular when they bloom because they're a mixture of white, pale pink, and deep intense fuchsia. This is supposed to be a tram-only path, but when those are in bloom, nobody remembers how to read. And that's a stand of magnolias behind them. I think it's called D.D. Cooper. I didn't realize until I started volunteering here how many different kinds of magnolia trees there are.
Well, these don't flower?
Oh no, they get gorgeous magnolias. It's just they finished blooming pretty sure. Wow. Some of the southern magnolias are still blooming. The teddy bears have finished as well. You'll see those on our trip back down the Passaic. That home was the home of Alex and Roberta Camp. That's where 22 of the acres came from. That home was finished in 1938. It's 8,500 square feet, which includes a full basement, which is pretty unusual in Texas, as you know, but this was out in the country when they built it, so I'm sure they thought they were going to need the storage space. There's a pensionette over there. The fountain sitting in front of it came along later. It was a gift to the Arboretum from the movie actress Greer Garson in memory of her husband, Buddy Fogelson, a Texas oil man. This is the drive up to the children's garden, and it gives you an opportunity to look into the Lay family garden over here. This is one of our older gardens, which is really beautiful. And the family gave us some additional money about 5 years ago to refurbish the gardens. So where it used to have 2 ponds with a bunch of little bronze statues around them, it now has 1 pond headed by a waterfall, and the bronze statues have been moved into the children's garden someplace. There's our beloved palm trees. There's a magnolia up there. Well, half a dozen.
Oh, beautiful.
We're coming up to the water wall fountains. You can hear the water shooting down. You can't see it too well from here. This is the back side. If you were out in the garden proper, you'd see it from the front.
We never made it back here when we watched the Chihuli's, did we?
Never been back.
No. This is amazing.
As we round the corner here, you'll see just the top of the waterfall here. That was part of the refurbishment. See over here?
Oh, yeah.
And it's built into a grotto, so if you take the walk that way, you have to walk under the waterfall, which is really cool. It's because it's stone in there, so it's got the water cascading over it. You know, you just want to hang out there on a hot day. That's the children's garden. That's 8 acres of 17 different galleries, designed to teach kids that food doesn't just come from the grocery store.
I gotta zoom in on this guy.
Oh, he doesn't want his picture taken. That's why he's got it up like that. Ooh, which is interesting. It makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's more interesting because he doesn't want his picture taken than if he did. Well, it's, like I said, 17 different galleries designed to teach kids that food doesn't just come from the grocery store, because most of our city kids have never seen food growing. So they go in there and learn about wind and water and birds and bees and insects, and hopefully teaching them to do a better job of taking care of the earth than we've done.
Look at the bark coming out there.
I know, we've had an arborist out to check on it. Apparently it is
mold,
going to die. There's nothing they can do about it. They're trying to keep it, protected as well as they can. And if you look at the upper part, it's still got lots of green leaves, but whatever is starting to make the bark chip off is irreversible before we even fruit out with it. That's a look like. Wisteria on top of the water. They've already bloomed this year, so that's also another spring flower. We really need to come back for Dallas blooms. We've got so much stuff blooming here, you're swiveling your head in every different direction.
And that's the spring thing?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
It usually starts about the 1st of March and runs to the first week in April. And that's these flowers I found so unique, not the begonia.
Behind there.
Over there. I parked one morning and went over to find out what they are because I had to go down there and get in. They're a variety of impatient called tropical rose. But look at that two-toned leaf. It is so gorgeous. And then on top of it, you have that gorgeous pink flower. Yeah, those would definitely have to be in the shade because it's an impatient, not a sun patient. But if you had a shady spot, wow, that is gorgeous.
Yeah, flowers in the shade. I like that.
Tropical rose. First built, it was not air conditioned, and all the windows in it are pocket windows because pocket windows would totally open up, enabling the house to catch the breezes coming off White Rock Lake because the home sits on top of a hill overlooking the lake. Of course, once we acquired it, we air conditioned it. We could hardly rent it out if we couldn't make it tolerable at any time of year. As we go by the dining room, just a glimpse of the fabulous beauty that they found in here just looking in their backyard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Can you imagine looking at that with your morning coffee?
Yeah, that would be wonderful.
Well, even though Mrs. Camp was widowed early, she elected to stay there for the rest of her life, and I would have too. Ooh,
I don't see sailboats out today. Is there normally a lot of sailboats in the lake?
Not during the daytime. What's so much fun, we're getting down to the entrance to the concert stage area, in the spring and fall, we do concerts in the park on Thursday evenings. And what's fun is when you go back there and throw your blanket down and all your food for getting ready for the concert, there will be some sailboats, some kayakers, some waterboard, the ones you stand up, I forget what they're called, waterboard, I think, or something, paddle,
yeah, okay.
that come over, and they, of course, get to listen to the music for free, because they're out in the water, and some of them are sailboats big enough to, you know, you see people sitting out there on their chairs, listening to music, drinking their wine. You can see where they've started to set up the tables and chairs for this evening. You can see a view of White Rock Lake. The tables and chairs are for Friends of the Arboretum, which is a level of membership that had a much higher rate than us normal people can afford to pay. So for us, we just throw a blanket or some low chairs on the hill, but we can still, you know, pay our entry and go in and listen to the music and look at the lake and look at the stars, and it's a great way to spend an evening. These are all Japanese maples you were talking about.
Yeah,
in fact,
okay,
this is
there,
called
yeah.
the Red Maple Rill Walk. So as you go down there, you'll see more and more. I've never seen one in yellow before. It's very unusual.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Pretty girl.
That's my favorite of all of his kinetic art. It reminds me of a kaleidoscope with them opening up separately, which also indicates there's a bit of a breeze someplace.
Yeah, it's got good wind tunnels there.
Now those things are have been rated up to withstanding winds of 90 miles an hour, so they're pretty much bulletproof. These are teddy bear magnolias here in front of the magnolia glade. The interesting thing about the magnolia glade is they only plant white flowers in there. So depending on the time of year, it may be white tulips, white pansies, white azaleas. Now it's white petunias, but only white. There's another good shot of that trial garden. And you can see all of those in full bloom crepe myrtles over there.
Jan, you must have fallen in love with this place.
I have. Hi there. There's not much of a breeze, they aren't moving. There's our rose garden over there. We had a wedding there this morning. Great spot for a wedding. You don't have to buy flowers. You're in the middle of a flower garden. How practical. There's a yellow garden. This is the crepe myrtle alley, which actually leads down to Toad Corners.
Oh, look at that, Dee Dee.
It's also a great place for a wedding. What an aisle to walk down. Ooh, there's yellow candle lilies to go with her dress. This is a cafe on the green, one of our outdoor eating areas. Hi! Ooh.
Yeah.
This is a camellia garden over here, but camellias are winter flowers, so you're not going to see any flowers on those trees until November, December, January. These are the Kwanzaa cherry trees. When they blossom, they have pink blossoms on them. That was the home of Nell and Everett DeGollier. You saw the entrance when we started the trip. This is what it was leading to. This home was completed in 1940. In fact, it was the first home built in Dallas with central heating and air conditioning. It was originally 21,000 square feet, made up of 13 rooms and 7 bathrooms.
Do you remember what year it was when
1940.
they 1940 had air conditioning.
Uh-huh. Well, he was a multimillionaire, so I don't know how many, because the house next door, which was completed in 38, was not air conditioned. He was only an attorney. I guess he didn't make as much money as Mr. DeGollier.
It seemed like most houses, even in the 60s, didn't have air conditioning.
My first home that my mother bought did not have air conditioning. We had a water cooler in the living room. Part of the house has been converted into the restaurant DeGollier, our indoor eating area, but there is still a substantial portion of the home that's open and available for tours on the hour and a half hour. And like I said earlier, if you wanted to take a tour, You'd have to go for the 130 tour now, but y'all could go back and retrieve her chariot and then come up here, and there's an entrance off the breakfast room. So when it got to be 1:30, you'd ring the doorbell, indicate that you needed the breakfast room door unlocked, and they would go back there and open it so they could push her in, and then she could take a tour of the house, and there's a ramp on the far side where you exit. So the fact that she has a chariot of her own doesn't preclude her ability to enjoy the house.
We're getting close to where we were. Huh?
Yes, you are. We're almost at the end.
Well, I wonder if there was a mafia wedding here today. That guy, I can't get over that. No, hiding his
Probably
face.
weren't- Oh,
Wow, he was a worker.
Oh, he was a worker? I don't think so, was he?
know,
Yeah, he was a worker.
it's just, I guess
don't
some
want it.
people don't care to have their
I don't
face
understand
on
that.
a picture when they don't know what you're going to do with it. Everybody's throwing stuff on Facebook these days, and maybe you don't want to be part of Facebook.
It's well within his right not to want to.
That's true.
I still don't understand it. I still don't understand.
I am going to stop up here
Okay.
and let you go get her walker, because this is the end of my shift, so I'm going to be turning
Okay.
in there to park the train. Well, that's good. Somebody finally moved the one that was sitting here off. Okay.
All right. Well, thank
All
you.
right. So you can go
That
get
made our day.
her hidden little spot there.
She was having trouble getting around, and she was giving up.
Well, hopefully you enjoyed your tour.
And do they allow you to take pets?